Hey guys! Today I'm going to explain you how to set up a gunfight game mode. But before we start, I quickly want to say I'm giving away more than 5k V-Bucks in my Discord. So come join us right now, link in the description below. So what is gunfight exactly? It's a close quarter 2 versus 2 mode where everybody gets the same random 2 weapons. No building, best out of X rounds wins, and it recently got featured as a creative LTM mode. Which is why I decided to explain to you guys how exactly you can set up this awesome fast-paced game mode. Now there's 4 parts to this mode I want to explain. With the first one and the last one being the most important ones, and 2 and 3 being optional but really cool. So to start off, we're going to set up the random 2 weapon system, where everybody gets the same set of weapons to fight with. Then after that, we'll set up an additional part to the system that allows us to occasionally grant us a consumable, but not always. Once we have the weapons sorted out, we're going to set up another really cool feature with the teleporters that will make us spawn in different rooms every round, but always right across from each other, and obviously together with your teammate. Lastly, we're going to go over the island and team settings to guarantee we got everything covered. If somebody wants to put timestamps for each part in the comments below, I'd be forever grateful. So here we go, part 1, assigning the same set of weapons to all players. So go to a place that is outside of your fighting area and set up a little platform here. Then grab an item granter and throw it down. Go into the configuration and change the receiving players to all players, so that every player in the game gets the same weapon. Then the on-grant action to keep all, because we will use the same item granter multiple times, so we don't want it to clear the inventory when calling again to grant the second weapon. Then scroll down and set the cycle to random item when receiving from to channel 1. Now go stand on top of your item granter and equip 5 rocket launchers in your inventory. This is because if your inventory is full and you equip another weapon, it just falls to the floor straight into your item granter, making it a lot easier to fill it up. And now select all the weapons you want to include in your game mode. If you want all weapons to be included, then you'll have to drop all of them in there. So now we know that this item granter will grant a random weapon to all players when a signal is sent on channel 1. So all we have to do is grab a sequencer and a trigger, and place the sequencer next to your item granter. And the only thing we have to change is the activate on game phase option and set this to game start, so that at the beginning of each round, it automatically starts. Then throw down a trigger inside the sequencer. Set the delay to 1 to give the player some time to spawn, as it sometimes bugs when not setting a delay, and then just scroll all the way down and set the when triggered transmit on to channel 1. Now finally, copy and paste this trigger once more right next to the first one, so that a second random item will be granted to all players. So very easy, every round the sequencer starts when the round starts, activating both of these triggers. After 1 second they both send a signal on channel 1, which in place gives a random weapon to all players. So let's go and see how this looks. We spawn, and 1 second later, boom, we get both our random weapons. Okay, time for part 2. Occasionally granting a random consumable, but not every time. Now let's first set up the system to always grant a consumable, and then we'll change it to occasionally grant one. Go back to your item granter mechanic, just outside of your map, and copy the trigger one more time, but change the when triggered transmit on to channel 2. Then copy the item granter as well and change the cycle to random item when receiving from to channel 2, just like the trigger. Now click the clear items button on the bottom. Go out of your configuration and start dropping consumables in the item granter. I'm just going to add a few for demo purpose. Now, if we would start the game, you'd see that we get 2 weapons and 1 consumable. But since there are a lot less consumables, let's make it a 50-50 chance to get a consumable and 50% chance of nothing. Now, there are 2 ways to implement this. The hard one, which uses a random number generator and a lot of unnecessary channels, or the cheating, dirty one, which is very easy. So let's go with that one. Go to your item granter and stand on top of it. Then go to your creative inventory and just grab some ammo. Since we'll have infinite ammo on, gifting a player more ammo doesn't do anything. So the more ammo we drop in it, the more chance it will grant useless ammo instead of a consumable. So if you drop 5 consumables in here, drop some ammo in here 5 times, and you have a 50% chance that ammo will be given and a 50% chance any other consumable will be given. If you want to change the chances, Just drop more or less stacks of ammo in this item granter, and easy as that. No triggers, no random number generators, just a little dirty workaround. Which brings us to part 3. Random spawns. Now this is where it gets really complicated but insanely fun. We're going to set up a system where the team spawns in a random room, but both teams always spawn directly opposite to each other. So you'll never have a situation where both teams are in rooms right next to each other. So to do this, the first thing we'll need to do is make our spawn room. And this, believe it or not, will actually be outside, just away from your actual arena map. So you have a little bit of extra decorating to do, but that's the only way we can do it. So build 2 completely closed off rooms somewhere outside of your map, 1 for each team, and add some spawn pads in them. Then change the unable during phase to gameplay only, the use as island start to no, and the team to 1 in the first room, and then exactly the same, but team 2 in the other room. Now, we know that both teams will spawn in separate, completely closed off rooms. So what we'll do next is add several disabled perception triggers to these spawn rooms. These are pretty much like cameras. And then when the game starts, we're going to randomly pick one of these cameras to activate, which will send the player to a different room in our arena. So, grab a perception trigger and throw it down in the room. You can change the visibility and the effects and sounds as you want, but the most important options are the enabled on minigame to disabled. And then unable when receiving from to channel 3. And then when the device sees a player, transmit on to channel 75. The reason I picked 75 is to clearly differentiate which channels we're using to activate these cameras and which ones we're using to teleport the player. Now copy and paste this perception trigger in the same room, but change the unable to channel 4 and the transmit to channel 74. Then copy both of these cameras over to the other room and leave the unable channels exactly the same, but change the transmit channels to 73 and 72. Now lastly, before we test and explain this more, we need to randomly activate either the left side or the right side of cameras in both rooms. So throw down a random number generator. I'm going to do this here at the same part as my item granter, just a little bit outside. And set the value 2 limit to 2, the roll time to 1 second for the same reason as before, that we want to implement a little delay, and set the zone to forward or left so that we can add triggers to it. Change the length to 2, and lastly set the activate on game phase to game start so that it automatically random rolls at the start of each round. Now grab a trigger and throw it down in the first part of the zone. And all we have to do is set the when trigger transmit on to channel 3, and then copy and paste it and change the transmit on to channel 4 in the second part. So before we start demoing and completing the setup, let's go over what's happening right now. Game starts. Both teams spawns in different closed off spawn areas that we have disabled cameras in. This random number generator will start and randomly activate either one of these triggers. Let's say it picked the second one. So that sends a signal on channel 4. And what does channel 4 do? It activates both of the right cameras in both rooms. Now, finally, we need to set up our teleporters in our fight arena to actually teleport the players to there. Throw it down in any of the rooms you want the players to be able to spawn in. Change the teleporter group and target group to none, the visibility to hidden, and the teleport to when receiving from to channel 75, which is the one this left trigger right here is going to trigger on. Now, if that left camera is the one that is activated, it will also be the left one in the other room that activates. And since that one triggers on 73, just copy over your teleporter to the room right across of it, and change the teleport to when receiving from to channel 73. Now copy it again to either one of the remaining rooms, and teleport the player to it when receiving from channel 74, which is the right camera for team 1, and across from it, the teleporter for channel 72, which is the right one for team 2. And ta-da! Random spawns together, but always in front of each other is all set up. Although it seems extremely complicated, it makes a lot of sense once you get the hang of it. If you want to add even more rooms and spawn locations, just follow these exact same steps, but with a longer random number generator, extra cameras, and extra teleporters. Now lastly, part 4, the island settings. So before we can fully call it a gunfight, we need to change some island settings. Firstly, set up the teams to custom so that everybody starts in the same team they were in as when the game started. So you'll need 2 people in team 1 and 2 people in team 2. Set the spawns to 1, as you only have 1 life per round. The total rounds to at least 3, but up this if you want. And set the team rotation to every round to make the teleporters even more random because you will switch sides every new round. Change the last standing to end to on to end the round when the other team is eliminated. Now in the other settings tab, go ahead and change the starting shields to 100%. Infinite ammo to on, infinite resources to off, allow building to off, environment damage to off, to keep them from, destroying your arena, keep items when eliminated to delete, and if you want Siphon to be on, then just set the health granted on elimination to 50. And that's it guys, this is probably one of the more complex game modes to set up, but I hope this tutorial helps you out. You can now add a lot of extra things, like exploding walls to make the arena even more random, a storm generator to force players to the middle, spawn pads in the fight arena for pre-game only so players can explore it, and even team and inventory settings to reduce the amount of inventory slots. But for now, I think we'll call it a wrap. Oh, and one more thing. If you don't want the player to have infinite consumables, you can also just grant them full ammo using the item granters. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment below, and come join my Discord for giveaways, bug reports, building help, and so much more. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell, and I'll see you guys soon.